For every Lord of the Rings, an emoji movie exists. Each Baldur's Gate 3 is counterbalanced with the Lord of the Ring Gollum. And for every Game of Thrones Season 1, 2, 3, 4, a Game of Thrones Season 5, 6, 7, 8 exists. I genuinely believe that good media and bad exist in a constant balance. People are, rightfully so, very black-pilled when it comes to any form of new media, leading to the idea that everything is shit now. But I don't subscribe to that theory, mainly because of things such as House of the Dragon Season 1. HBO managed to somehow get me to watch a prequel to a series which had completely obliterated any chance of me having any interest in it anymore. And yet I still liked House of the Dragon Season 1. It was pretty good. Some things weren't, but that's alright. So when HBO out of nowhere reached out and decided to dump the entire plot to the new season, I was taken aback. So here we go. House of the Dragon will follow the book that was based on very closely. There are, however, a few ways that the writers have chosen to divert from the original, which is totally cool, so long as they continue to honor the work of George R. R. Martin. And if you ask me, they did. The first episode deals with one of our main characters finding and using a time travel machine dragon found in the Dragon Mountain seen in Season 1. The season is locked onto the point of view of one character. We follow Daemon Targaryen as he uncovers the truth about what the dragons actually are and the people who've tried to hide the facts. That's basically what the first episode will be about. It ends on a cliffhanger as Daemon rides the dragon and we cut to black. Episode 2 deals with the effects of this new discovery and the consequences. Daemon wakes up, and although the scenery is unfamiliar to him, for the viewer that is quite the opposite. That's because Daemon has traveled to the ending of Game of Thrones. You may have wondered why Daenerys' dragon chose to leave after Jon killed his master. The answer is pretty simple. The dragon felt a disturbance in the Force as Daemon arrived in this time period. Dragons are magical, which means that anything that doesn't make sense is explained by their existence, not bad writing. So anyway, Drogon left to try and locate Daemon and his dragon. Meanwhile, Daemon is confused since, you know, he time traveled and all. And this is where it gets a bit far-fetched, so keep with me, please. Drogon meets up with Daemon and the time travel dragon, and they decide to have a chat, and here it gets revealed how dragons communicate with one another. They speak. The review embargo disallows me from giving explicit dialogue. All I'll say is that the answer is family. Daemon realizes what this means, and so do I. Daenerys and Daemon are both Targaryens, meaning that they're family. Daemon walks up and rips off Daenerys' wig, thanks Drogon, and the two look respectfully at each other. This is followed by Drogon incinerating both dragon and rider, and the screen cuts to black. The third and final episode opens up, and Daemon is fine and not incinerated. He's back in his time. It's revealed that Drogon is actually a time travel dragon variant, and possibly a descendant of Daemon's time travel dragon, meaning that if the two had stayed in that Game of Thrones time period, Drogon could possibly have ceased to exist, as the other dragon would not be there to create him. Possibly a plot hole in the writing, but I don't care. I loved this season, and the final episode undoubtedly makes up for any mistakes that were made in previous episodes. And honestly, I think this season redeems Game of Thrones Season 5, 6, 7, and 8. And I also think that I no longer need George to continue working on the Winds of Winter. I'm satisfied. But where were we? It's revealed that Drogon spews time travel fire. Daemon is alive, but not where he time traveled from previously. He's in a totally new location, and he's not alone. There are actually a bunch of people around him. Amongst them we see Varys. Every single person, thing, or animal that Drogon had ever burned wasn't killed, not destroyed. It was sent here, to this exact moment in time, and for a reason. And the reason is clear. Outside, the Dance of the Dragons is going on. It's a thing from the books that draws inspiration from the real-life civil war in medieval England, known as the Anarchy, when Princess Matilda was the only child of King Henry I, but her cousin Stephen usurped the throne, leading to 19 years of protracted civil war. Anyone who've read the books should be able to follow along with what I'm saying here. Basically, a civil war, which was built up to in the previous season, is currently going on, and it's up to Daemon, Varys, and Dickon to solve the conflict. But how? Well, remember back to what Drogon told Daemon. Family is the answer, which is why Daemon took off Daenerys' wig and kept it with him. It's all coming together, just like the Red Wedding. And just like the Red Wedding, you've guessed it, this requires a wedding. But how is Daemon supposed to find a Targaryen bride, you may be asking? Well, it's a good thing that he's in possession of a spare Targaryen wig and a bald unit. And so it happened. Daemon announced to both sides of the issue that he would be taking a Targaryen bride and invited both sides to a wedding. At that wedding, which both sides chose to attend, well, let's just say that history is the greatest teacher, and its student was Tywin Lannister, who more than 200 years later would look back on this time when he was in a similar situation.
And then that with Anakin, kind of duplicating the Luke Skywalker role, but you see the echo of where it all is going to go. And instead of destroying the Death Star, he destroys the ship that controls the robots. Again, it's like poetry, so if they rhyme, every stanza kind of rhymes with the last one. Hopefully it'll work.